Please turn your Bibles with me over to the book of 1 John. 1 John, chapter 2. God's peace be with you. It's Peace Sunday. Thank you. And we have titled this sermon, Peace Sunday. But we're still in 1 John. So we're going to see if it makes sense at all to call it Peace Sunday sermon when we are looking at the text that we have gotten to as we studied 1 John. We've found out that the author has written another book. I don't know if you've ever done that. Have you ever gone to the library and picked up a book and got excited about it and found out it was the second in a series? Yeah. And so you think, you know, it'd be much better to start with the first one in the series instead of the second one. Well, the first one that he wrote is the book we call John, the Gospel of John. And we've noticed that he's already made references in chapter 1 back to what he wrote about the Word becoming flesh. Okay? And today we're going to see some other ones about the concept of light and dark, and the darkness and what the darkness is doing. So let's read our text from this morning in 1 John chapter 2. We can start in verse 7. Dear friends, I am not writing you a new command, but an old one, which you have had since the beginning. This old command is the message you have heard. Yet, I am writing a new command. Its truth is seen in him and you, because the darkness is passing, and the true light is already shining. Anyone who claims to be in the light, but hates his brother, is still in the darkness. Whoever loves his brother lives in the light, and there is nothing in him to make him stumble. But whoever hates his brother is in the darkness and walks around in the darkness. He does not know where he's going because the darkness has blinded him. Okay, last week I told you from that first section here in chapter 2 that we're talking about love, right? We're talking about that old command. Love your neighbor as yourself. John says love your brother. Now, we want to say, okay, are we talking about the same thing? Is neighbor and brother the same thing? This is a huge debate. Who do I have to love and who do I not have to love? You remember when they asked Jesus that question? And he gave them this amazing parable? Remember what parable that was? The parable of the Good Samaritan? And the question is, who is my brother? And it was basically anyone who's in need. So, are we talking about brothers in a physical family? No. Are we talking about brothers in a spiritual family? Possibly. Are we talking about brothers universally? Everybody else who is a product of the Creator that we have. Yeah. We're talking about learning how to love here. That's what we're talking about. Because in Asia Minor, they had slipped off into some other rules, and they were following some other people. And where that fallacy showed up is the fact that these people don't love. Or they're very selective about who they say you can love. You can love me, but you can't love everybody else. And you can listen to my teachings because I'm enlightened. And someday you can become like me. These are some of the things going on in Asia Minor that makes John write this letter. He said, guys, you had this command from the beginning. You're supposed to love. Right? Don't know you're Christians by your love. That's going to be later on in this book. There's some people teaching them not to love. Are teaching them who is worthy of love and who's not worthy of love. And John says, okay, let me put this in this context. There's some people who are walking in the light, who see where they're going, and there are people who are living in the darkness. Now, keep your fingers there because we're going to be back and go over to the first chapter of the Gospel of John, John chapter 1. And this is the prequel. This is the one that you were supposed to have read before you got to 1 John. In John chapter 1, it says here in verse 1, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through Him all things were made. Without Him nothing was made that has been made." That's a huge statement right there. He is the maker of everything and everyone. Okay. "In Him was life, and that life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, but the darkness has not understood it." The first reference. Jesus was life, and in Him was the light of men. The things that make things make sense. Light. You know, you throw on a light, you can actually see what's in the room. And things make sense. If you want things to make sense, you look at Jesus. In Him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, but the darkness doesn't get it. Just doesn't get it. It says here, "There came a man who was sent from God. His name was John." I asked the children in the children's moment if they remember John this morning. We're going to have to brush up on that. Okay. "He came as a witness to testify concerning that light, so that through him all men might believe. He himself was not the light. He came only as a witness to the light. The true light that gives light to every man was coming into the world." That was John's message. So when we talk about the light, we're talking about Jesus. That's what we're talking about. He's the one that makes our life make sense. He's the one that makes our relationship with God make sense. Everything we do, everything we say, everything we experience should be in the context of Jesus. That's why we come. We come as disciples of Jesus. We come because we want to point each other to Jesus. We come and we remember. We remember Jesus. That's what this is about, right? Well, there's something going on in Asia Minor. It's taking people away from looking at Jesus. And John says, here is a true test. Do they love? Or do they hate? Do they love or do they hate? Are they teaching love or are they teaching hate? Do they want peace or do they want conflict? Yeah. This is an old command, guys. This one goes all the way back to the book of Deuteronomy. Love your neighbor as yourself. And you may want to debate all day long who is your neighbor, but Jesus pretty much cleared that up. It wasn't a Jewish-Gentile thing. It wasn't a rich-poor thing. It wasn't a male-female thing. All of those things have been done away in Jesus. Remember, there's no Jew, there's no Gentile. There's no slave, there's no free. There's no male, there's no female. We are all loved. We are all capable of being loved. We are all lovable. We are to love. You're to love. That's what we're supposed to do. Now, in the context of Jesus living in the light, when we get together and talk about Jesus, we are supposed to be more capable of loving than we were before.